Lopburi in Thailand, around 150 kilometers north of Bangkok, is already famous for its 1,000-strong monkey population, and monkey tourism is one of its biggest money spinners. So now the residents of Lopburi have decided to give something back. Yes, that's right. Thailand's first monkey hospital has opened for business. Monkeys have been living in the area since it was nothing but jungle. As the town evolved, so did they. Though still semi-wild, the monkeys have adapted to town life. The clever macaques clamber up fire escapes to relax on people's balconies, scamper along electricity cables and saunter unafraid across the town's busy streets. They are also used to human contact, and thousands of tourists flock to the town each year for the chance to get up close and personal with Lopburi's fearless urban monkeys. But the dangers of town life also take their toll. Monkeys face injuries from road accidents, electrocution, disease and even human abuse. Now a group of animal-loving locals have found a solution to the problem: the monkey hospital. Every morning a group of volunteers and vets patrol the town looking for injured or diseased monkeys, which they then tranquilize and take to the centre in Lopburi Zoo. Funded almost entirely by loans and donations from locals, the $45,110 centre was set up primarily to treat injured or diseased monkeys. It will also run vaccination and anti-parasite programs, control epidemics, and collect and analyse statistics on the monkeys. Between 3 and 5 monkeys are brought into the hospital for treatment each day. So far, most of its patients have been the casualties of accidents on roads and railways, but hospital founders say that the town's human residents can pose a risk too. However, most of the 750,000-strong population think of the monkeys as lucky and have shown plenty of support. The hospital employs 2 full-time vets, but it's otherwise run by an enthusiastic army of local volunteers. Plans are now underway for a recovery centre and an old monkeys home to be completed in July 2004. The $50,120 centre will provide long-term care for elderly monkeys that are no longer able to fend for themselves, as well as rehabilitation for invalids.
Meanwhile, the mummy has returned and for the first time has made its way to China. Precious Egyptian relics went on display recently at the National Museum in Beijing. The collection featured 143 pieces and was valued at $260 million. Exhibits included delicate mirrors, earrings and replicas of Egyptian temples and statues, the oldest items dating back 5,000 years. China has never seen such an exhibition of artifacts from ancient Egypt before. For many of the 1,000 Chinese visitors at the opening, the exhibition was an introduction to the unknown. But some saw common ground between the 2 ancient civilizations of Egypt and China, noticing a comparable development from a primitive society to a slave-owning society before turning to feudalism. The centerpiece of the exhibition was a 2-meter stone statue of the pharaoh Akhenaten, which weighed 1.6 tons. Akhenaten ruled Egypt 3,300 years ago and was the first to promote monotheism, focusing on the sun god Aten. With a long, narrow face, Akhenaten's statue stood out from the square physiognomy of the other pharaohs. Indeed, some of these treasures from the National Museum of Egypt in Cairo have never been shown to the public before, creating a unique event. And the collection certainly proved a success with these Chinese visitors. Entitled Adventure into the Pyramid, the month-long display east of Beijing's Tiananmen Square moved to the capital from Shanghai.
There's no shortage of monuments to kings and conquering generals in Trafalgar Square, London. But one corner of the square is being devoted not to past military heroes, but to the best of contemporary sculpture. 6 shortlisted ideas for the one vacant plinth in the famous square have gone on show, but the organisers of the international competition to fill the void are not looking for just another monument. Entries range from political ideas reflecting the popular protests that often fill Trafalgar Square to a humorous allusion to the square's pigeons by young British sculptor Sarah Lucas. If you can't make it to London to see the sculptures, you can access the designs from anywhere around the world via the internet. And whether visiting or viewing the website, the judges say they will take seriously the public feedback they get in choosing the winner. This artistic Battle of Trafalgar Square will be a biennial event, with artists around the world invited to submit ideas for the plinth every 2 years. The winning sculpture for this year, chosen by experts and the public, will be announced soon.
It's what Marilyn Monroe, Leonardo da Vinci and Jimi Hendrix all had in common. Not just genius, but being left-handed as well. Growing up left-handed in a right-handed world is not a simple task, where most everyday objects like scissors, corkscrews and knives are made with right-handers in mind. So, the Anything Left-Handed shop in central London is helping to ease the burden. The first to sell gadgets making life easier for left-handed people, its owners have helped others set up similar shops from Turkey to New Zealand. About 13% of the world is thought to be left-handed, but prejudice against left-handers is age-old. The Latin word for left is sinister, and even today left-handers are expected to adapt to the right-handed majority. Some say being left-handed makes you more creative and artistic. In the case of Leonardo da Vinci, though, the logical and artistic sides of his brain seem to be equally strong. Nevertheless, anything left-handed is a boon to those who've had to battle it out in a right-handed world.
Whether they're left-handed or not, some creative British engineers have developed a virtual studio that's at the forefront of TV and film technology. This TV weather presenter can't actually see the map she's pointing at. All she sees in her studio is a blue screen, as the map is fed in separately from a computer. If the camera were to move, she would appear to move against the background. But engineers at the British Broadcasting Corporation have developed a tracking system that now allows cameras to move realistically across the superimposed background, and it's already in use commercially. However, the next stage is to help the actor or TV presenter. In conventional blue screen, actors, just like the weather presenter, cannot see the computer-generated background or characters, making realistic acting difficult. That's where the new origami system takes over. It uses 12 cameras linked to computers and projectors to allow the actor to interact with the virtual background in real time. This saves on rehearsal times as well as on the number of takes required to get a scene right, so saving the cost normally associated with big budget productions. The system is designed to be as automated as possible, also helping to bring it within reach of low budget film and TV. In future, two actors on different sides of the world could act in the same virtual world using the origami system. The BBC expects it to be on the market in about 2 years' time.
The 1960s and 70s are back in vogue, and bargain hunters were in early to investigate up to 300 dealers displaying their wares at the Antiques for Everyone fair at the Earl's Court Exhibition Centre in London. The antiques on offer ranged in price from a few US dollars up to tens of thousands of dollars and weren't just from the 60s. Among the more unusual items for sale was a pair of Queen Victoria's wedding gloves. Like all the antiques on offer, the gloves were verified as genuine by a team of inspectors. But back to the retro era, this so-called sunball chair, one of only 50 made in 1970, is now worth around 27,000 US dollars. Furniture and art from the 1950s to the 1970s have suddenly become valuable, with limited edition pop art furniture worth much more than other items hundreds of years older. The retro display also included chairs used in the Stanley Kubrick hit movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. Organisers expected tens of thousands of visitors at the fair, with more than 40 million US dollars worth of antiques on display.
The Amersfoort Zoo in the Netherlands received 2 precious bundles of joy on October the 11th last year, a pair of very rare white tiger cubs. But it's only now that they've been able to put them on public display. The cubs, measuring 30 centimeters and weighed only 700 grams at birth, and they spent their first weeks in a closed cage with their mother Rena. But now they're big enough to show themselves to the public and, under the watchful eye of their mum, explore a bit of the outside world. Being the only zoo in the Netherlands with a white tiger collection, Amersfoort proudly showed the cubs to the public and the press. White tigers are very rare, with a mere 200 thought to be in existence in zoos worldwide. Distinguished by icy blue eyes, a pink nose and creamy white fur covered with chocolate-coloured stripes, white tigers are not albinos or a different subspecies of tiger. They are in fact a mutation of the Bengal tiger. They only produce white offspring if both parents carry the unusual white colouring gene. The first time a white tiger was captured from the wild was in 1951 in central India. Through inbreeding, the Maharaja who captured him started the first generation of captive-born white tigers. All the others born in zoos since can trace their ancestry to this first tiger. The two cubs here were born after their 5-year-old mother mated with Brooklyn, a white male that moved from a German zoo to the Netherlands last June. And although Brooklyn is kept in a separate cage for now, he will soon join his family. It's not known how frequent white tigers appear in nature, but research suggests as few as 1 in every 10,000 tigers is white.
Over in Turkey, scientists and volunteers are helping to protect the future of another species, the sea turtle. On one of the most important egg-laying coasts in the Mediterranean, the first baby turtles of the season were about to crack open their shells and take a perilous journey over the sand to reach the sea. One of the 5 sea turtle species living in the Mediterranean Sea, the caretta-carettas are seen often in the Turkish seas and coasts where they lay their eggs. In coordination with Hacettepe University in Ankara, the Balak Tourism Investors Association, or BETÜYAB, watches the coasts around the city of Balak closely between the months of May and September, the egg-laying period for these sea turtles. The 30 kilometres of Belek shoreline is one of the main reproduction and nesting beaches for the caretta-carettas. The Belek beach is watched 24 hours a day in order to protect the eggs. Volunteer Dilak Semerji was watching the turtles with a group of 20 students in order to decrease the damage caused by humans walking on the beach, as well as by foxes digging up and eating the eggs. Dilak and her students collect statistical research while they are standing guard, with their main task registering all hatching. They also maintain temporary fences around the nests. But according to researchers, closing the beaches to humans is not an option. They believe it's far better to educate the beachgoers about the turtles that lay their eggs just 50 centimetres beneath the sand. At the moment, these Turkish beaches are a rich haven of turtle life. With continuing help from volunteers like Dilak, the future of the caretta-carettas looks bright.
More than 600 of the world's leading jewellery designers and manufacturers descended upon Britain's biggest trade fair recently to display their wares. The International Jewellery London exhibition showcased the latest work and new fashions and put the sparkle back into business for retailers. Not open to the public, the exhibition served as a showcase for businesses to stock up on the latest designs in gems and precious metals, hoping to attract new customers in the process. Among the many international exhibitors, South African manufacturers have come to the show for the first time. The Jewellery Council of South Africa presented its acclaimed designers who had won that country's prestigious Riches of Africa awards. This year, designers were challenged to create solid 18-karat gold pieces, somehow relating to nature or the 4 seasons. Award winner Johan Lowe found the inspiration for his design on an early morning walk around Cape Town's picturesque Table Mountain, seeing a dragonfly cross his path. New ideas and designs that make a contemporary fashion statement were in abundance at the exhibition, particularly from emerging British talent. Human beings have adorned their bodies with jewellery for thousands of years. The ongoing success of Britain's biggest trade exhibition, now in its 47th year, proves that the market and demand for jewellery of all styles remains as strong as ever.
In Argentina, it was clothes and not jewellery on display in Buenos Aires. Argentine designers presented their new spring and summer lines on the opening day of Fashion Week. Models glided along wearing light, airy creations, with designers favouring one of 2 palettes. The first consisted of whites with pale pinks and peaches, while the second, darker palette was of greyish green, black and brown. Designer Cecil Gadier chose an orchestra to showcase this collection, consisting of plenty of pastel colours and white and black dresses. The catwalk show finished in the traditional manner, a group display of the clothing followed by the audience's chance to congratulate the designer. Meanwhile, Objeto Fashions highlighted yellow and cream in its collection. In total, over 42 designers were featured, half of whom were presenting their lines on the catwalk, while the other half had their creations on display in adjacent showrooms. As many as 50,000 people were expected to attend Fashion Week.
But it was a fashion show with a twist that graced the catwalks in Japan. Have you ever been so lost you wished for a portable GPS to help you find your way? Or perhaps had the urge to sniff your favourite smell while walking around town? These and many more wishes could come true soon if a project between Japanese fashion designers and electronic companies is made available to the public. At the Media Fashion Show in Tokyo, the latest in wearable gadgets were on display, everything from organic film EL displays embedded in the back or sleeves of clothes, to sensors on fingers which convey what the person is touching to small computers on their wrists. Michi Sone, a fashion designer and one of the organizers of the event, believed that much effort was put into making information technology instruments look smart. However, the tastes and fashion preferences of young people were not always taken into consideration, so designers thought that this was a way to show that IT gadgets could be worn as casually as clothes are. Sone said that there were infinite ideas about how clothes and technology could be integrated, but acknowledged that there were only a few companies who were eager to invest. Apart from being a fashion statement, wearable gadgets also have practical uses. People who have visual and hearing disabilities rely on their sense of touch to collect and disseminate information, and these devices convey the information to the computer screens on both wrists. This woman was intrigued by an apparatus called a device to record memories. Wearing your computer could also be quite useful, and some engineers never leave home without them. This wearable computer comes complete with an eyepiece screen. Audiences were also treated to a wearable smell display, but it wasn't your usual scents that could be sniffed. For example, things like radiation, which is invisible, could be translated into a certain scent to warn people. Other items included an e-book, read using a special kind of eyeglasses with a screen embedded in one corner. A skirt together with tank tops made from fibre optic cables were a highlight of the display, programmed to emit light at certain intervals. So now, whatever your preference in IT gadgetry, it will probably be available to wear from stores in the not too distant future.
It's dawn on the seemingly endless plains of Kenya's Masai Mara. Due to its natural beauty, the tree-dotted Mara is usually one of East Africa's most popular tourist destinations. But at this time of year, it's the spectacle of over 1.4 million wildebeest, accompanied by hundreds of thousands of zebras, that has brought tourists and wildlife enthusiasts flocking here. Young and old alike are fascinated by the sight and follow the wildebeest's constant journey at every turn. The herds of wildebeest and zebra are visiting from the Serengeti in Tanzania. That's the starting point from which they migrate in a clockwise fashion for almost 3,200 kilometres every year in search of rain-ripened grass. In reality, there is no real beginning or end to a wildebeest journey, and these elephants weren't at all concerned by their presence. The wildebeest life is an endless pilgrimage, a constant search for food and water. Since the rains came late to the Mara this season, the numbers of wildebeest in the area were far less than usual. But Mohammed Nur, who has shown tourists around the Mara for over 14 years, says there is nothing to worry about, except if you're a wildebeest, that is. When they cross the Mara's rivers, many die from drowning or being eaten by crocodiles. But many more do make it across the treacherous waters safely, and if they can outwit the Mara's cheetahs, hyenas, leopards and lions that have eagerly been awaiting their arrival, they will return here in 4 months, trying to get back to the replenished pastures of the Serengeti. This year's migration is particularly welcome for Kenya. Fears about possible terrorist attacks have crippled the country's vital tourism sector. Visits to Kenya's wildlife reserves and beaches employ some 500,000 people directly and contributed about $350 million to the economy in 2002. Thanks to the wildebeest, most of the hotels in the Mara Game Park are fully booked, in spite of travel warnings issued by Britain and the United States. However, wildebeest are notoriously unpredictable. Anyone keen on seeing the creatures in action must be prepared to pack a generous portion of patience along with their binoculars. The Maasai people have hunted and led their cattle on the plains of the Mara for generations. Even centuries ago, the arrival of the wildebeest was good news. Over the years, many things have changed in the Mara and for the Maasai, but the coming of the wildebeest is still good news for these warriors who make a bit of extra money entertaining tourists keen on learning more about their culture.
A naturopathy centre in southern India claims to have a miraculous cure for chronic diseases through its mud therapy. Located in the remote Kodlampati town of Tamil Nadu state, the centre daily attends to over 300 patients with chronic ailments. Patients who have taken years of modern treatment vouch for the efficacy of the therapy. Known as the Mud Kuliyal or mud bath, the therapy works on the principles of the Indian system of medicine called Ayurveda. Ayurveda, which means knowledge of life, is 5,000 years old. Doctors at the centre say they include the curing properties of Prithvi, or earth, and Vayu, meaning air, in their therapy. They claim to have cured ailments ranging from Parkinson's disease to cancer. One thing's for sure though, this child was not impressed. One patient claimed that she was cured of a paralysis of the lower limbs. Only after coming here and taking the mud bath and oil treatment did she feel that she was returning to normal. A number of herbs are ground and added to the mixture before it's applied to the patient's bodies. Then some patients take to participate in gentle exercise, while other more infirm individuals rest. N. Shanmugan, superintendent of the centre, claimed that the mud therapy was effective for a variety of diseases, over 3,000 in total. Nervous problems, liver and lung ailments were just a few of them. According to a recent study, the global herbal market is worth $120 billion a year, and Ayurveda's share amounts to 50% of that figure.